Dorothy lived on a farm in Kansas with her aunt and uncle and her little dog Toto. One day, a terrible tornado came and picked up the house. The terrible wind spun the house around and around and around. Dorothy was hit in the head with a piece of wood and fell to the floor as the house continued to spin around. When Dorothy awoke, the house had finally stopped spinning. She cautiously opened the door. This doesn't look like Kansas. She noticed a crowd of happy people who cried, "Thank you for saving us from the Wicked Witch of the East." And there, sticking out from under the house, were 2 feet wearing red shoes. Dorothy's house had landed on the Wicked Witch. "Oh dear," said Dorothy. Just then, Glinda, the Good Witch, appeared and offered to help Dorothy get home with the help of the Wizard of Oz. Take the magic red shoes from the Wicked Witch's feet to the Wizard of Oz, and he will help you. Just follow the yellow brick road to Oz, the Emerald City, said Glinda the Good Witch. Just then, the Wicked Witch of the East sister appeared. She was the Wicked Witch of the West. "I want those red shoes," she hissed. Dorothy hurried away with her dog Toto down the yellow brick road to the Emerald City of Oz. She met a scarecrow who needed a brain. "Come with me, and the wizard can help you too," said Dorothy. They all set off down the yellow brick road. Soon they met a Tin Man who needed a heart. He joined them on their way to see the wizard. Later, a lion leapt from the forest. Toto barked loudly, and the lion began to cry. "I am supposed to be the king of the animals, but I have no courage," the lion said. "The wizard can help you," said Dorothy.
Oh.
And the lion joined all of them on their journey to see the wizard. Soon they saw the Emerald City in the distance. They met the Wizard of Oz, and he asked them to bring the Wicked Witch of the West's broomstick. We have to do it, they all agreed, or they would not get the help they needed. The Wicked Witch could see through her magic crystal ball that Dorothy and her friends were coming to get her. The witch sent out her magic monkeys, who fought off the lion, the scarecrow, and the Tin Man. The monkeys brought Dorothy and Toto to the witch. The witch locked up Dorothy and took the red shoes. Toto snuck away to get their friends to help rescue Dorothy from the Wicked Witch. Dorothy's friends, the scarecrow, the lion, and the Tin Man, crept into the castle and freed Dorothy. When the witch saw them, she shot sparks at the scarecrow, who burst into flames. Dorothy grabbed a bucket full of water and threw it on her scarecrow friend to save him. She also managed to soak the Wicked Witch. When the water hit the witch, she started to melt away. "I'm melting! I'm melting!" And soon, the Wicked Witch was just a giant puddle. Dorothy and her friends grabbed the witch's broomstick and headed back to the Wizard of Oz. When they arrived, the wizard admitted to them that he was just a regular man and he was no wizard. But he did have some things that would help them. He gave the scarecrow a diploma, the Tin Man a clockwork heart, and the lion a medal for bravery.
Oh.
"But how can I get home to Kansas?" asked Dorothy. Just then the Good Witch appeared and said, "Don't worry, you helped your friends and I will help you. Just click those red shoes together and say, 'There's no place like home,' and you'll see." So Dorothy said goodbye to her friends and picked up Toto and clicked her heels together 3 times, while saying, "There's no place like home." Magically, she was home with her aunt and uncle in Kansas. "What an adventure," thought Dorothy. "There really is no place like home," she said, as she hugged her aunt and uncle and her little dog Toto. The end. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Aladdin who lived far, far away with his poor widowed mother. One night, a stranger knocked on the front door and said, "Good evening. My name is Mustafa, and I am looking for my brother's son, Aladdin. I would like to take Aladdin to work with me to make good money." Aladdin wasn't too keen on the idea, because there was something about Mustafa that he did not like. But his mother thought it was a great idea, and she agreed to let Aladdin go with his uncle. Aladdin and his uncle walked for a full day into the desert, until they reached a cave with a small entrance. Mustafa was too big to fit through the entrance, so he asked Aladdin to go inside. Aladdin did not trust him and was afraid he might block him in. But his uncle told him there were gems and gold inside the cave. Mustafa told Aladdin he could take as much as he wanted. Mustafa only wanted an old lamp from inside the cave. So Aladdin went inside. Aladdin could not believe his eyes when he entered the cave. It was full of treasures. He started filling his pockets with diamonds and rubies and emeralds. He also found a gold ring that fit his finger perfectly. Finally, he found the lamp Mustafa had asked for. He yelled for Mustafa to help him out. But Mustafa said he wanted to see the lamp first. Aladdin did not trust him, so he refused to let him see the lamp. Mustafa was angry and said, "I am not your real uncle, and I don't care about you, Aladdin. Since you won't give me the lamp, I will block the cave entrance with this huge rock." Mustafa left Aladdin inside. Aladdin sat crying with the lamp inside the cave. "Stupid old lamp," he said. "It is not even real gold." He rubbed the lamp a little to wipe off the dust. And all of a sudden, poof! A genie came out of the lamp. "Master, I will grant you 3 wishes," said the genie. Right away, Aladdin said, "Take me home." And poof, Aladdin was at home. His mother almost fainted at the sight of Aladdin. He told her about Mustafa and the cave full of treasures. Aladdin rubbed the ring he had put on his finger, and a second genie appeared. "Master, I can grant you 2 wishes," said the genie. Aladdin wished for a grand palace and enough wealth for him and his family to be rich forever. All of a sudden, Aladdin and his mother had a beautiful palace filled with riches. One day, Aladdin was walking through the city when he saw the most beautiful girl. He fell in love with her at first sight. She was the Sultan's daughter, Yasmin. Yasmin loved Aladdin too. Aladdin went to ask the Sultan if he could marry Yasmin, and the Sultan said yes. After many years, the Sultan died, and Aladdin ruled the country. This news reached Mustafa. Mustafa knew how Aladdin became so rich and powerful, and he made a plan to get the lamp back. Mustafa tricked Yasmin, who had no idea who he was, into trading him with the old ugly lamp for a shiny new one. Yasmin accepted the trade and went to show Aladdin. Aladdin was mad at Mustafa for tricking his wife into this trade. He searched for Mustafa and found him sleeping with the magic lamp. Aladdin slipped the lamp from Mustafa and raced back to the palace. Aladdin had one more wish, and he asked the genie to turn Mustafa into a frog so that he could never bother them again. The genie granted Aladdin's wish, and Yasmin and Aladdin lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, a girl named Cinderella lived with her stepmother and two mean stepsisters. They made Cinderella clean and cook all day for them, leaving no time for Cinderella for herself. One day, the king and queen of their village announced a grand ball for all the young ladies to attend. It was time for their son, the prince, to find a bride. Cinderella had to help make dresses for her mean stepsisters. She had no time to make a dress for herself. She worked hard on the dresses for her stepsisters, and they just made fun of her. "Hurry up," said the stepmother. "I am trying very hard," said Cinderella, "as I want to get my dress started too." The stepsisters laughed and said, "Imagine Cinderella at the ball in her torn, raggedy dress." Cinderella just kept working to finish the stepsisters' dresses. On the night of the grand ball, a fine carriage picked up the stepsisters and stepmother, but left Cinderella behind to do her chores. Cinderella had no dress anyway. She had no time left after making the stepsisters' dresses to make her own. She waved goodbye and said aloud, "I wish I could go to the ball." Then, poof! All of a sudden, a fairy godmother appeared. Cinderella could not believe her eyes. "Who are you?" said Cinderella. "Well, I am your fairy godmother, and I will grant your wish to go to the ball." "But what will I wear?" said Cinderella, "and how could I ever get there?" Then, poof! With a touch of her magic wand on Cinderella's head, Cinderella was dressed in the finest ball gown and special glass slippers that fit only her. Cinderella looked at herself and could not believe it. "But how will I ever get there?" said Cinderella. And then, poof! With the touch of her magic wand, the most beautiful carriage was waiting to take Cinderella to the ball. "Have a wonderful time," said the fairy godmother. "But remember, Cinderella, at midnight, everything goes back to the way it was before." Cinderella promised her fairy godmother she would leave the ball by midnight. Cinderella went off to the ball. She met the prince and they danced all night. They danced, and they were having such a great time that Cinderella did not notice the time was slipping away. Dong! The clock rang. It was going to be midnight. Dong! Cinderella had to leave. The prince begged her to stay. She ran up the ballroom stairs, and one of her glass slippers fell off her foot. "Please stay," said the prince. "We have just met." "Goodbye," she said, as she waved to the prince, and she slipped into her carriage and was whisked away. The prince was left standing on the ballroom stairs, holding Cinderella's glass slipper that had fallen off her foot. The prince knew he must find her by matching the glass slipper to the fair maiden Cinderella who fit that special shoe. The next day he visited all the fair maidens and finally found Cinderella, who fit the glass slipper perfectly. Her stepmother could not believe it. "How can this be?" said the stepmother. "I can't believe this," said one stepsister. "Cinderella fits the slipper?" said the other stepsister. The prince knew he had found his bride. Cinderella pulled the other glass slipper from her pocket. He said, "Come with me to live in my castle, my future bride." The prince and Cinderella had the most beautiful wedding in the whole land, and they lived happily ever after. Long ago, in a small village, a woodcarver named Geppetto made a wooden puppet. It looked so much like a real boy that Geppetto gave it a name, Pinocchio. The old man was so happy, he showed the puppet to his cat Figaro and his goldfish Cleo. As Geppetto showed his puppet to his dear pets, a small cricket named Jiminy Cricket snuck into Geppetto's house to have a warm night's sleep. Jiminy Cricket watched as Geppetto set the puppet down and gazed out the window at the stars. "Look at that! The wishing star!" Geppetto cried. Geppetto wished Pinocchio was a real boy. Soon it was bedtime, and Geppetto, Figaro, Cleo, and Jiminy Cricket all fell asleep. Before long, a beautiful light filled the workshop and woke up Jiminy Cricket. It was the Blue Fairy. She had heard Geppetto's wish and was there to make Pinocchio a real boy. She touched the puppet with her magic wand, and Pinocchio came to life. But Pinocchio had to prove he was brave, truthful, and unselfish to become a real boy. The Blue Fairy knew Pinocchio would need help, so she made Jiminy Cricket his helper, so he would help him to choose between right and wrong, and prove himself. Geppetto was delighted with Pinocchio, and he sent him off to school like a good parent. On the way to school, Pinocchio met a sly fox, who said Pinocchio could make a lot of money and didn't have to go to school. Jiminy Cricket didn't trust the sly fox. The sly fox said he could spend all of his time having fun in the theater instead of studying at school. Pinocchio said, "Okay!" and off he went with the sly fox to the theater owner. That night, the theater owner put Pinocchio on stage. He was a big hit as he sang and danced for the crowd. The crowd threw money on the stage. Jiminy Cricket, who was in the crowd, worried. After the show, the theater owner locked Pinocchio up and said, "You will live here and make me lots of money." Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket wondered how he could escape. Luckily, the Blue Fairy arrived. She asked Pinocchio why he missed school. He lied. She asked him more questions, and each time he told a lie, his nose grew longer and longer. The Blue Fairy reminded him to tell the truth if he wanted to be a real boy. Pinocchio promised he would tell the truth. She fixed his nose and set him free. The next day, Pinocchio met the sly fox again. The sly fox convinced Pinocchio to not go to school, but instead play and have fun all day. Pinocchio followed the fox, not returning home after regular school time. Geppetto was worried and went to look for Pinocchio. Geppetto sailed his boat to search for Pinocchio, and he was swallowed up by a huge whale. When Pinocchio returned home from playing all day, he found this out, and he knew he must save Geppetto. Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket found the huge whale and they teased him with the fish. The whale grabbed the fish, the pole, Pinocchio, and Jiminy Cricket, and they were all swallowed into his belly. They found Geppetto in the whale's belly too. They must find a way to escape from the whale. They decided they would make the whale sneeze, and they would all escape when the whale opened his mouth. It worked, but when the whale saw them in the water, he thrashed around, knocking everyone about. Pinocchio had to grab Geppetto to save him. After a while, the water settled down and Geppetto and Jiminy Cricket awoke on the beach. They found Pinocchio lying lifeless on the rocks. Geppetto was heartbroken, and he carried his son home in his arms, convinced he had lost Pinocchio forever. Back in the workshop, Geppetto and Jiminy Cricket cried, and then all of a sudden, the blue fairy appeared. She touched her wand on Pinocchio and said, "Awake!" Pinocchio awoke, and the blue fairy said, "By saving Geppetto, you have proven yourself to be brave, truthful, and unselfish." "I am a real boy!" shouted Pinocchio. Pinocchio, Geppetto, Jiminy Cricket, and all the pets celebrated and danced as Geppetto's wish had come true. Pinocchio was a real boy.